Hello, data and analytics enthusiast. I'm Evan Wimpy, and it's time for your weekly update. Today is July 16th, 2024. Here's the latest and greatest in data and analytics. First story for this week, Microsoft and Apple dropped their bid to be on OpenAI's board. They were previously expected to have a seat either as an observer or an active member of OpenAI's board. There's been a lot of scrutiny, particularly regulatory scrutiny from the EU, antitrust issues, and Microsoft and Apple will no longer serve on the board of OpenAI. OpenAI, of course, the AI lab that's behind ChatGPT, amongst a bunch of other things. And when asked, Microsoft and Apple both admitted that having a seat on the board would give them a lot of insight and a lot of influence over OpenAI's direction. But abstaining from a board seat gives them something far more valuable: plausible deniability. Next, AMD is acquiring a Finnish company called Silo AI, one of Europe's biggest AI labs, for $665 million. AMD, of course, is a big competitor to NVIDIA that provides a bunch of hardware that's fueling and driving the AI surge. AMD making this big acquisition, hopefully hoping to become more competitive in a market that NVIDIA is leading by heads and shoulders. So the NVIDIA CEO, Jensen Huang, was asked, does this move make AMD more of a threat? He responded derisively, no, they're Finnish. Next up, this is a paper that was released a couple of months ago rather, but it takes me a long time to read a paper, so it's news to me. This paper from Anthropic, some research that they have done, and it's scaling monosemanticity, a word that only Claude could have come up with, I expect. But it's a very cool paper about extracting interpretable features from a large language model. So this is something that they did last year with a very, very small sort of toy model. And they've been able to recreate it from Claude 3 Sonnet, which is a pretty big language model. They've used sparse autoencoders, and they've been able to find specific neurons that create these features that represent topics. And a lot of these are related to bias and fairness and truth and honesty and things like that. So we can see which neurons within this gigantic large language model actually correspond to these certain topics. This is great for interpretability, but it's also great for being able to toy with the outputs, because you can artificially increase or decrease the weights on those particular features. So you can make models that are more or less biased or focus on it. And some of the things are the features are related to bias. Some of them are very fun, like the Golden Gate Bridge. They found a Golden Gate Bridge feature in Sonnet. Neurons that fire when talking about the Golden Gate Bridge. So you can turn those up and make sure everything that the large language model outputs is related to Golden Gate Bridge. I'm excited for Elon to pick this up and get it into Neuralink so that I myself can become a Golden Gate Bridge. Last story for today. This is actually, you might notice, this is not my normal home studio. I'm actually out in the mountain town of Hayesville, North Carolina, where one resident said it's kind of like being 50 years in the past. So I've gone to some local news, 50 years in the past, and I have a quote from Marvin Minsky. Marvin Minsky, one of the great minds in artificial intelligence and computer science. He was quoted in 1970 in Life magazine that from 3 to 8 years, we'll have a machine with the general intelligence of a human being. And if we're lucky, they might decide to keep us as pets. So this was 50 years ago. Here in Hayesville, we're 50 years in the past, so we've just released this. But the rest of the world must be pets to AI now for about the last 45 years or so. So we'll enjoy the next few years as thinking humans, and we'll look forward to being domesticated pets after that, catching up with the rest of the world. That's it for today, July 16th. I'm Evan Wimpy, and this has been your weekly update. See you next week if I don't get replaced by AI. And hey, if you like these things, subscribe so you can make sure you don't miss out on any of the latest and greatest AI news. See you next week.